If you're in your 30s and 40s and you like the idea of having healthy older years, you love to be able to do whatever you want to do in your older years without being held back by frailness or ill health. If you want to still be able to do most of the things you could do as a young person in your older years, and if you want to be able to enjoy your older years in health and vitality, you should watch this video. If you don't want to spend most of your older years in hospital, with more time spent in hospital than out of hospital, and if you don't wish to be a burden to your children due to ill health, then watch this video. Because with simple tips you should start doing now, you can make a change in your life and health and give yourself the best chances of being young, even in your older years. These are the top things you should start doing right now. And this is the most important period of your life. You should start doing these things if you haven't started doing them before now. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Bossi, consultant surgeon. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the most important things you need to start doing right now if you like the idea of having healthy older years, especially if you're in your 30s and 40s. Well, I fall in that same age range myself, so it's something that I've become very interested in basically, and I've gone to study it in depth. And I think these are the things I've found that I think you need to start doing right now. You've not been doing them before. Because like they say, if you haven't had your health taken away from you, if you haven't had major ill health before, you will appreciate the importance of good health. But if you've had your health taken away from you, as in serious major illness, or you had someone that had a close shave with death, or lost someone due to ill health, you realize that there's really nothing as important as good health. Good health trumps everything. And so you got to do everything you can to preserve your health. So that's why I'm making this video, to share the things I've found so that everyone can start doing them as well. So quick question. So why are 30s and 40s such a very important part of your life with respect to your health? Now, I've done a whole video on this before sometime in the past. I think that's my last video. So I'm not going to waste time going into details about that. I'll just leave it in the description and you can check it out if you want to. But the quick summary of it is that 30s and 40s are an important bridge between the years of good health of youth and then those years when the chronic illness of middle age and older years start cropping up. So all those hypertension, diabetes, and all those kind of things, disease and all that start cropping up in your middle ages, and so they tend to crop up at the age of from about 40s for most people in their 40s, some a little bit in their 50s, some earlier in their 30s, but generally in their 40s. Meanwhile, most people have enjoyed a lot of good health from their youth, from their teens onto their 20s and to their 30s. Now, that period of 30s, 40s represent the time where some of those diseases, some lifestyle changes that you make can prevent some of those diseases if you make the right lifestyle changes, especially if you are on course towards them. But if you don't realize that and you just keep on carrying on as if things were just normal, then you just run straight into those diseases. So they represent an important time that if you've not been making those changes you need to make all this while, they are the time you need to make those changes right at that point. So that's why I'm making this video, especially for those of us in our 30s and 40s. If you are younger, start implementing the changes, still good. If you are older than that, still implement the changes at least. If you've not been caught by any of them, fantastic, basically. So just start implementing those changes as well. But particularly for those in the 30s and 40s, are the most critical periods you need to make those changes to avoid running into those problems of middle age and elderly years. I want this to be a very quick video because I know a lot of us are busy with life, or some of us might not have so much data and all that. So I want to just give the key points, the things you need to know, and then and implement those changes for your life, and then move on with that. So I'll just give the highlights without explaining too much. Now, for those that want a detailed explanation of the reason why I say some of these things, then maybe later on I might create a specific detailed video in depth, going in depth and analyzing the rationale and the different reasons why I say these things I say. But for now, this is just going to be a very quick video so that we'll run through quickly. Now, some of the things I'm going to be saying in this video, some of those things are things you may already know and you're already doing. In that case, congrats, you are doing very well. Just keep that up. I just continue in that way. Now, there are also some things that you may know but you are not doing already. In that case, that just serves as a reminder. It's like a wake-up call. Like, please wake up. This is the time to start doing those things if you've not started doing them, so that you don't run into problems. And there are some other things I will say that you are not aware of at all, or you may not be aware of. In that case, you are not aware, and now you know. You just start doing them right away as well. So that said, let's get to it. Now, so what are these things you need to start doing right now to optimize your chances of good health in your older years? Well, first things first, reduce excessive sugar, salt, and excessive seasonings in your food. For starters, reason being that these two things, they are like two brothers that cause trouble. The two biggest illnesses, or two of the most common illnesses of the Middle Ages, which in themselves are also gateway to other illnesses and to other problems, are hypertension and diabetes. So these two illnesses are two bad guys that like to crop up in middle age, and then they themselves now lead to a host of other problems if they are not controlled. Now, so they can cause things like heart disease, kidney failure, so many things, amputations, what have you not, strokes, all sorts. So, but the two of the commonest factors that lead to these things are salt and sugar. Salt for hypertension, sugar for diabetes. So I'll just take them one by one on the key things you need to know about them. Now, for sugar, if you are one of those that like sweet things, you are one of us that likes sweet things, just naturally start stepping down. I'm not saying you shouldn't take them at all, but consciously start cutting down on them. Reason being that over the years, I mean, you've probably been taking lots of sugar. If you are someone that likes sugar naturally, or you tend to take a lot of sugary stuff, you've probably been taking it over the years, and this means that your body has been coping. But you are likely getting to the age where once you're in your 30s and 40s, those are the times where some of those things you've been taking are peaking inside your body. Your body is reaching the peak levels of what it's able to cope with. And if you don't step it down, for some people, it may translate into diabetes. As anybody with diabetes will tell you, diabetes is not fun. Diabetes is not something you want to have, especially if you have a family history of diabetes. If you have someone in your family, or if you have people in your family that have diabetes, or there are many people in your family that have diabetes, you should be doubly, or if maybe your dad, mom have diabetes, you should be doubly careful with those things because there might be some genetic predisposition to it as well. Yeah, and now salt. Excess salt, taking excess salt is just a highway to hypertension. Just take it that way. Just see excess salt as highway to hypertension. That's just like an expressway to hypertension. Now there are different things that cause hypertension, and there are different routes to enter a particular spot. But the salt route is one very broad, smooth road with no speed bumps at all. There are no gallops. You just head straight. You are likely to head very close to hypertension if you consistently take a lot of salt. So you need to consciously cut down on salty foods as well. Now, a lot of us, of course, table salt is known. Everybody knows that. I'm sure if you don't know that by now, then I mean, most people would know that table just adding extra salt at table. That's when your food has been done and you're now adding extra salt to increase the salt to your taste. Is absolutely not advised. But however, there are some other hidden sources of salt that we take that some people do not realize, but they are all still salts and they are adding into the salt stuff. So if you are at risk of hypertension, especially maybe you have a family history of hypertension or people in your family tend to have hypertension, you need to be conscious about that. Or if you are someone that eats some of these foods a lot, you might not think you are taking salt because they are not salt and you're not adding salt at table. But because you're taking those things and they have a higher level of salt than normal, by the time you add up the amount of salt you are taking, you find that you are taking much more salt than is good for your system because they are not things you would normally think contain salt. Now, what are these things? I mean, things like roasted granules, because they usually add extra salt when they are roasting granules. So sausages, sausage rolls, because they are salted foods. Any food that is preserved with salt as well. Pringles, that Pringles potato chips or other salted potato chips, basically. So just be consciously aware of that and watch out. Next thing is exercise. Very, very important. In fact, probably one of the most important points in this entire video. Exercise. I can't emphasize it enough. Exercise. We need to do more and more exercises in various ways. Now, exercise has so many benefits. It works for different things. If there's one thing that I say, it does different things for different places. Exercise is one thing that helps with so many things. It helps with your heart, helps with hypertension, helps with preventing diabetes, helps with so many things. It helps with losing weight, helps with maintaining fitness, general fitness and all that, helps with maintaining flexibility, helps with general body functions, helps with your intestine moving, those that have constipation. Exercise will help you go to the toilet smoother and better. And so there are so many things. I can't emphasize exercise enough. If there's one thing I'm going to take away from this video, probably need to do more exercises. Now, for those of us that are in Nigeria. Nigeria is stressful enough already. So probably, I mean, a lot of people won't do a lot of trekking already and walking around. And other things. So some people will believe that they are doing enough exercises. My question is, are you actually doing enough exercises? Before I used to think that once you walk from here to the gates, I mean, you've done some exercise for that day, or once you walk from here to the bus stop. Well, even if you stroll around, that's some exercise. But the question is it actually enough exercise for what you want or what you should be doing? Okay, so now, well, it's better than nothing, but the truth is that it's not enough if it's just strolling around. In a week, you should be doing at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes of high intensity exercise. So if you are not doing up to that, well, might not be doing enough. But if you look at your lifestyle and you're doing up to that, then you are doing well. You can do things like press ups or what also known as push ups. You can do dancing, you can do skipping, you can just find what makes you happy. And then you can also find a sport that you enjoy and start doing. If you are one of those that like playing football, you can go and play football, enjoy yourself playing football. At least you are enjoying yourself while doing the exercise. So yeah, I mean, you're having two benefits as well. Or whatever exercise whatever sport that is physically active, you just start finding that. So when you're doing exercise, don't just think because you strolled from here to your junction every day, then that means you've done exercise. Yeah, that's good enough, but not, I'm sure with this, you know that that's actually not ideal. And then know that you should try this range, 4 different range of exercises: aerobics, also known as cardio, there's strength training exercises, balance exercises, and flexibility exercises, also known as range of motion exercises. Yeah, and this leads me to the next point: rest and sleep, which goes hand in hand with reduce excessive stress. Now, once you're 30s and 40s, I mean, it's a very stressful period of life for a lot of people because you're handling many things simultaneously. Handling children, you're handling kids, you're taking care of elderly patients, you're pursuing career things and chasing money, different things. So usually a very stressful period for many people, and then also a very busy period for many people. And if you don't take care, that stress may now trigger other conditions. Stress is linked to hypertension. Stress is linked to diabetes, especially chronic long-term high stress. They are particularly linked to hypertension and diabetes and to heart disease, even to arrhythmias. So if you know you're under stress, and also for those of us in Nigeria, in recent years, Nigeria has been a particularly stressful environment, but not just in Nigeria as well, but even around the world because of global upheavals and whatever has been going on. So, but you need to consciously tell yourself to reduce stress. You need to consciously work on yourself to reduce stress, because if you just let yourself react to the environment and the way things are, you'll probably find yourself operating under chronic high stress, and then those things will start giving you symptoms. That goes in with rest and sleep. Make conscious effort to sleep. Minimum of 6 hours in a day, preferably 7 to 8 hours. But for most adults, that may not be realistic. That's why if you have kids and you have a career and you are pursuing different things, but at least aim to have at least minimum 6 hours in a day. Poor sleep is linked to dementia, mental deterioration as people grow older, where their minds are no longer, where people start losing their minds. It's been closely linked with that. It's been linked with diabetes, it's been linked with a number of things. So consciously try and sleep. Shikina. Aha. And this one is a big point, literally. Avoid excessive weight. And if you are overweight, consciously lose weight. Again, this goes hand in hand with something else, which is reducing oily intake. They are not the same, but they are related. I'll just address them together. If you are overweight, please and please and please, please and please and please, just lose weight, because excess weight is linked with so many things. If you start listing the things that obesity is linked to, you'll probably feel a wall, basically. We're just listing the number of diseases that obesity is linked to. Almost everything. Just cut down the weight. And then, I mean, there are ways to do these things. You don't necessarily have to starve yourself. You look more at the content of what you are taking. So rather than eat your full bowl of food, you divide it. Maybe 3/4 of the food, take it off, replace it with fruits and vegetables. Foods are not high calorie anyway. Maybe things like cucumbers, garden eggs, carrots, and all those things. I don't have a lot of calories. They will still fill your tummy. but they don't contain a lot of calories that will go and swell in your body, basically. So consciously use it. And then there's another thing to note about weight, excess weight. If you have truncal obesity, weight around the tummy, what you normally call pot belly, that's a particularly dangerous kind of obesity that is even more dangerous than just having fat generally. If you have a pot belly, work on your pot belly. Shikena, I'm going to say more than that. Now, also for oily foods, you should consciously reduce oily foods for several reasons. One is that they help reduce weight gain, excessive weight gain. They tend to cause buildup of fats inside your blood vessels. And another thing as well, they also increase the risk of colon cancer. For those that don't know, if you take oily foods, there's been a strong link that oily foods tend to increase the risk of colon cancer. All right, so that leads me to my next point, fruits and vegetables. Consciously take fruits and vegetables. Consciously. That's the key word, consciously. Because as you start getting to these ages, by default, as people grow older, their chances for various cancers increase. And then fruits and vegetables has been one of the strongest things that have been shown to reduce the chances to some extent of having cancer, some extent because of antioxidants and various other theories. Now, particularly for colon cancer, that has also been shown categorically to reduce the chances of having that, probably because they help clean out some of the intestine in a way to some extent and all that. So don't joke with fruits and vegetables. Consciously take fruits and vegetables always, as much as well. The aim is to take 5 different fruits in a day as much as possible. But well, and Nigeria, that may not be realistic unless you have a lot of resources. But at least anyone you can access, always try and take them and make it a variety, a mix of different ones, different colors. The more the merrier. All right, so that's that. On to the next one, water. Drink water, lots of water. Now, there's people that don't like drinking water. What you should know is that the less water you drink, the more stress you're putting on your kidneys. Now, when you're born, your kidneys are young and fresh, full of energy and all that. But as you grow, you've been say you are one of those that don't like drinking water, or you like taking a lot of medicines and all those supplements and different things and all that medicines and maybe concussions and what have you. You are constantly putting your kidneys under stress by not drinking water. So your kidneys are in a default position of constant stress over the years, over the decades. And if you continue this, at some point, you are going to just basically put the kids under so much that they start complaining. And you don't want that. So basically, make sure you drink as much water as possible. As an adult, you should aim to drink up to at least 2.5 to 3 liters a day, depending on your weight. If you weigh 70 kg and above, you should aim to drink at least 3 liters in a day of fluids, basically. If it's not water alone, different fluids, but preferably water. Now, to another important point, once you are entering your 30s and 40s, you should do some basic medical checks once in a while. Because if you don't do, it's like you are literally flying blind, okay? Flying blind means like you're in an aircraft or you're flying without any instruments, you're just sitting in the air. You don't know what direction you're heading. You don't know whether there's something cooking in one corner that's not yet manifested, and that if you address on time, you will be able to prevent it and all that. So you should do some basic tests once in a while, maybe like once in a year or once in 2 years, depending on your age and all that. But you should do basic tests once. And what are these things? At the minimum, you should check your blood pressure and your blood sugar. Minimum, at least once in a while, once in a year, once in 2 years. If you are at risk of hypertension, maybe because of your family history, because you have other conditions that put you at risk of hypertension, then you should check those things even better or even more frequently. If you are at risk of diabetes as well, same goes. So you check at least minimum your blood pressure, your blood sugar. You should do a urinalysis once in a while. Just check your urine, because that may also be an indicator of whether you're developing diabetes or some other different conditions or kidney problems. There are other things like what we call a full blood count or a complete blood count that just looks at the levels of the different parameters in your blood, or electrolytes, so and creatinine to look at the levels of just basically check level of different chemicals in your blood and check how your kidneys are functioning. And then for women, pap smear as well, which is that they check the cervix, take someone in the cervix to rule out cervical cancer. You can also do that once in a while. Now, next one, and this point is a very important point. Consciously keep an eye out for diseases that your parents may have had or diseases that are common in your family. Consciously keep an eye out for them. learn everything about them, especially things like hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, stroke. You have relations that have had these things. Consciously learn about them. Learn the things that put you at risk of them. Learn the signs of them, and then learn the things to do to avoid them and start avoiding them, because some of these things may have some of these things may have a little bit of a familial component. May not be directly genetic, but there may be things maybe in your makeup or in the habits you were brought up with that may put you at risk of some of these things. So if you notice that maybe your dad was diabetic, your mom was diabetic, or your grandfather was diabetic, your dad was diabetic, then you should watch out for yourself and consciously learn about the things to avoid those things so that you don't also develop that pattern. Next point, for women, this goes out to the ladies. Keep an eye out for your breasts. For women, keep an eye on your breasts. In fact, not just an eye, keep an eye and a hand on your breasts. These guys. So examine the breast every once in a while. Breast cancer is a bad guy. But at the same time, breast cancer, when caught early, can be cured. So what happens in our society is a lot of people do not pick it up on time. And by the time they are picking it up, or they pick it up on time, but they don't go to the hospital on time, either because they are praying, or because they are afraid of the hospital, or because they heard that people that go to the hospital with it, they die, but not realizing that it's because people that go to the hospital with it go at a late stage. And so the other thing you need to know about is that breast cancer, particularly for the African population, in blacks, for some reason that we don't yet know, breast cancer tends to come at an earlier age and at a younger age, and it tends to be more aggressive compared to whites. And so for all of us that are blacks, we need to consciously keep an eye out on your breast. Regularly examine your breast. Once there's anything abnormal, you go and see a doctor for that. Yeah, and the next point is one which I'm sure even a day-old baby would know. Everyone should know about this. I'm sure it's universal. In fact, you don't even need to be told about this one. But I'll just say it to make sure you hear it officially. Please cut smoking and alcohol. If you smoke, reduce it. So if you can stop it completely, stop it completely. If you can't stop it at all completely, then reduce it to the barest minimum. Alcohol, you should also reduce alcohol. If you're a heavy drinker, you are drinking every day, reduce it. A little alcohol, not bad. I mean, but there have been studies before that showed that a little alcohol is good for the heart, or those studies are now being disputed. So, but bottom line is a little alcohol, not really that bad. But if you're a heavy drinker, your liver is standing like this and looking at you. I'm looking at you your one side eye like, okay, continue and all that. So please, if you're a heavy drinker, cut alcohol. You can stop it completely, stop it completely. Smoking as well. Now, there's one funny thing from, we used to say in medical school back then. If they ask you when you're in class or in a ward round, maybe with your teachers or your lecturers, and they ask you any question, maybe about a risk factor for any condition, if you don't know the answer, if they ask you, okay, what are the risk factors, what are the things that predisposes to this condition? If you don't know the answer, just say smoking or alcohol, and 90% of the time you'll be right. So we used to use that as a sort of code that when they ask you anything, that's to show you how smoking and alcohol is almost like, in quotes, the devil, because they are everywhere. I mean, they are implicated in almost every condition. You can't start listing all of them now. So, but bottom line is, back then in school, if they ask you a question for what is a condition, if you are not sure, just say smoking and alcohol. You are likely to be right. You are likely to be right. So that tells you how widespread the negative effects of smoking and alcohol can be, because they are implicated in almost every disease. So the more of it you can cut, the better. I'm not going to say more than that. All right, so that's for that. So those are top 10 things you need to start doing from right now if you want to have healthy older years. The more of these things you do, the higher your chances. And for extra measure, as a nice guy, I'll give you 2 bonus points. 2 bonus points. Now, number 1 of those bonus points is keep your brain active consciously. Keep your brain active consciously. So because I'm sure for those that don't know, if you've had a patient that had Alzheimer's or that had dementia, which is reduction of mental function as people grow older, or Alzheimer's, where people become forgetful, they lose function of their brains, their personality changes, They are basically no longer there. It's just their body, but their mind is no longer there. Keeping your brain active has been shown to reduce that categorically. In recent studies, before it wasn't clear, but more recent studies have shown in multiple places from Harvard and several other places have shown that the more you keep your brain active, the better your chances of preventing mental decline later on and prevent and reducing chance of Alzheimer's later on. And then the second bonus point, well, I know some guys may like this, but it's true. Have more sex. Well, within healthy grounds, basically, within healthy limits and all that. So, or within healthy scenarios, have more sex. Sex has been found to have many benefits, different ways, both in boosting immune function, reducing stress, reducing blood pressure, generally lifting your mood and making you happy, even as painkillers of others have some headaches because it releases what they call endorphins that just makes that just acts as natural painkillers in some scenarios and all that. So sex when enjoyed and in the right healthy scenario, it's fine. Now I'm not saying you should go and start playing away matches or I didn't send you on that one because that has its own risks and its own problems, including penile fracture. The penis can break and all that. But seriously, in the right circumstances, sex is actually good. And then for the guys, sex has been found, regular sex has been found to reduce chances of prostate cancer. Yeah, I'm sure that is good news to a lot of guys. The mechanisms are not yet fully clear, but what it seems like is like it helps to maybe sort of prevent accumulation of toxins within the prostate, sort of. And so you think of it like sort of like changing the oil regularly. So there has been a study that showed that those that have sex frequently, up to maybe like 21 times in a week, I'm not saying you start having that, but those that have sex frequently tend to have a reduced chance of prostate cancer compared to those that have sex relatively infrequently. And there's been multiple studies in different places that have also validated this. So as long as you're keeping it healthy and you're not going around indiscriminately doing different things, then enjoy yourself as well and enjoy the benefits. That's one pleasurable exercise for a lot of people. So, but also it should also be within the context of mutual enjoyment for you and your partner. If one partner is not happy and the other partner is compelling it, then it's not also to be advised. So I'm not saying husbands should go and start fighting their wives. I say you must give me sex. No, I'm not advocating that. But what I'm saying is that both for males and for females, in the right scenario, sex also has its advantages and can also help keep you younger and looking younger. And it's also exercise as well. All right, so I think that wraps up our discussion for today. I think we'll stop here. If you do all these things I've said, the more, even if you can't do everything, the more of them you can incorporate into your lifestyle and make a part of you, the higher your chances of having healthier, happy older years. And you might get to the point where you are playing football in your 70s, and it's happening abroad actually. People playing football in their 70s, in their 80s, people lifting weights in their 70s and 80s because they've mastered these things and they've gone with it over time. And they've been exercising, they've been doing these other things. And so they are living longer and they are living healthier and they're living happier. And especially now that health is expensive. Especially now that healthcare is expensive. So whatever you can do on your own to increase your chance of having good health without dancing around the hospitals, please do it. And that's what I'm also doing myself. All right. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good day. And that's that. Cheers.